Caught attention at all cost. Listen, if you're power hungry, this video is for you. You'll learn probably about 90% about this law by just watching this video, so let's get to it. You learn about how you can get attention and that for resulting in power. So let me just read you the intro real quick. Everything is judged by its appearance. What is unseen counts for nothing. Never let yourself get lost in the crowd, then or buried in oblivion. Stand out. Be conspicuous at all costs. Make yourself a magnet of attention by appearing larger, more colorful, more mysterious than the bland and timid masses. So one way that you can caught attention is by being controversial. So there was this guy named Barnum, and I talked about him in one of the other laws. So he had this museum and he wanted some attention to the museum. And what he did was he hired some homeless guy to lay down like one brick each day, or 3 bricks, I don't know the exact number, but then he would just be standing outside the museum and he would be replacing one brick with another, and that managed to get a lot of people just standing there watching him. And then they also went into the museum. Let me just read you this. On the return journey, he was to replace each brick on the street with the one he held. Meanwhile, he was to remain serious of countenance and to answer no questions. By the end of the first day, the brickman had drawn over 1,000 people into the museum. So another thing he did was, he said, there is music for the millions, like outside the museum. And he intentionally hired the worst musicians ever. So there were thousands of people who turned up to hear this free music, and they thought, how generous of him. And then when they started playing the music, all of the booing and people, they just wanted to get out of, like, they just didn't want to hear the music, so they bought tickets into the museum. So you see how he converted the attention to make money. So let me read you here. Barnum understood the fundamental truth about attracting attention. Once people's eyes are on you, you have a special legitimacy. For Barnum, creating interest meant creating a crowd. And this is what you have to do to create a crowd. To create a crowd, you have to do something different and odd. Most important, the quality of the attention is irrelevant. One thing he also did a lot was, he would even write anonymous attacks on his own work just to keep his name in the papers. You have to learn to attract attention. It is a common mistake to imagine that this peculiar appearance of yours should not be controversial, that to be attacked is somehow bad. Nothing could be further from the truth. So there also was this artist, he made art and all this stuff, and he knew the importance of attention, and he knew if he just made his, pretty art and this stuff, then people, they, wouldn't want to see it because it was just like everything else. So what he did was, let me read you here. Better to create something ugly and disturbing, he believed, than to let viewers grow too familiar with his work. Understand, people feel superior to the person whose action they can predict. If you show them who is in control by playing against their expectations, you both gain their respect and tighten your hold on their fleeing attention. So here is another great thing that you can do, like to court attention. It is to create a mist of mystery, or just, be mysterious, So there was this lady, she migrated to France in 1904. And what most women do when they migrate to there was just, they would just be, pretty, and they would go do all sorts of, she would only be valued for the few years, and then when she got a little bit older, she would just be replaced with younger, more prettier women. So she decided that she would just be mysterious, and she made all sorts of weird dances, said it, and people, she didn't say much, so people, they started thinking on their own and thinking of solutions, or not solutions, but they wanted to figure out what she was actually doing. And she kept saying something else about, oh, now she's actually this, oh no, she's actually that, and no one could actually figure out what she was, so that made people talk about her. And she actually reached a lot of success by just doing that, because people wanted to be around her. And they eventually figured out her real name, because she called herself Mata Hari. That's what she called herself, but her real name was Margarita Celle. So let me just read you this. When Margarita Celle arrived in Paris in 1904, she had half a franc in her pocket. She was one of the thousands of beautiful young girls who flocked to Paris every year, taking work as artists, models, nightclub dancers, or vaudeville performers at the Folies Berger. I don't know how to say this, like French words. After a few years, they would inevitably be replaced by younger girls and would often end up on the streets, turning to prostitution. So, her name's Celle. Celle clearly understood that what was important in her act was not the dance itself, or even her face or figure, but the ability to create an air of mystery about herself. So there was this other guy who just decided that he was just gonna be mysterious to a hotel. So like, he would show up at the best hotels in a limo driven by a Japanese chauffeur. No one had ever seen a Japanese chauffeur before, so this seemed exotic and strange. All this attention allowed Lustig, that was his name, to lure suckers in with ease. They would beg for his confidence and his company. Everyone wanted to be seen with this mysterious aristocrat. Okay, so another thing is, all great leaders know that an aura of mystery draws attention to them and creates an intimidating presence. So here is how you can keep this like air of mystery without putting in too much work. Every now and then act in a way that does not mesh with other people's perception of you. Okay, so in like 200 BC or something like that, one of these, leaders, military guys, they wanted to, get the other guy out of there. So he was trapped on an island or something like that. So he put fire to some animals or something, and they would run around and they would set fire to everything. And they got scared, so they couldn't interpret what was happening. So they thought it was demons or something, so they would flock out. So if you find yourself trapped, cornered, and on the defensive in some situation, try a simple experiment. Do something that cannot be easily explained or interpreted. So, if you're currently a nobody, this is what you have to do on your way to the top. In the beginning of your rise to the top, you must attract attention at all costs. But as you rise higher, you must constantly adapt. Never wear the public out with the same tactic. But there are some things that you have to be wary about, and you can't just do like whatever you want to court attention, because sometimes it's best to do the opposite. Do not let your air of mystery be slowly transformed into a reputation of deceit. The mystery you create must seem a game, playful and unthreatening. Recognize when it goes too far and pull back. So there was like the king and the queen. They were watching a theater. They were sitting on one of half of the, where they see the theater. And then there was a lady who came in on the other side, and she had all of this. She had a diamond tiara on and all sorts of stuff. She was just trying to call attention, and it was really obvious. But you should never do that. It's the same with law 1, never outshine the master. That's basically what I'm trying to say. So here, never appear overly greedy for attention. Then, for it signals insecurity, and insecurity drives power away. Understand that there are times when it's not your interest to be the center of attention. When in presence of a king or queen, for instance, or the equivalent thereof, bow and retreat to the shadows, never compete. So this was law 6, and I don't think I will make a lot more of these kinds of videos. Only make it if it's a law that I really resonate with. So That's it for this video. See you guys next one. Bye.